Hey everyone, we bring in Anna Kelly back to the show. How you doing, Anna?
I'm great today, Michael. How about you?
Oh, very good. So this is going to be an exciting topic. Might be a little controversial, but you just did a deal on a 10-unit building. You paid over asking, and some people looking at the deal, probably in your network, are going to tell you, Anna, you overpaid. I'm guessing you didn't overpay, but we've got to appreciate that some people might be looking at generic statistics and say, well, you know what, Anna overpaid. So let's have that discussion why you might overpay for an asset.
Sure. So, in every market, as we've talked about a couple of times, there are different opportunities out there and there's different challenges in every market too. And right now, the challenge over the last year and a half or so is that we've been in this hyper supply mode in some markets, but in other markets, we're like, still tons and tons and tons of demand. So there's been a huge demand for multifamily, and most properties, I mean, you have 4, 5, 6 people in LOI going to best and final and best of final, and hardly getting any deals done because there's just so many people looking for those deals. So prices have continued to creak upward, and they're still creaking upward, even though we're in this recession. And so you have to basically say, can I still make a deal that other people don't see as a deal? And so one of the things that's really important for us to understand as we're competing with a lot of others when we're going after deals is that most people going after deals are going after them because they want cash flow. They need an extra $100,000 a month, whatever it is, and they're going to buy a property only if they can meet the right cash on cash return. So a lot of times the reason we're beat out on big apartment buildings is because those that are buying them are REITs or they're institutional investors. They don't care about cash flow. They want a safe place to park their money that's going to preserve their capital, keep it from being lost during a major recession. That'll give them some cash flow, but has, number one, huge tax benefits, which we can't stress enough how many tax benefits we get from owning rental property. But they also have mortgage pay down, and rates are incredibly low. So people can pay a lot more than what you traditionally would, and they still meet their financial goals of having a little income, a little growth, but big tax deductions and big chance for preserving their capital. So for me, I think of finances in 3 buckets: my income bucket, my growth and appreciation bucket, and my asset preservation bucket. And I look for different things depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. So all day long, I'd love to have more income. And so cash flow, yes, is important to me. But now that my cash flow needs are met, after you reach financial freedom and you can live and everything else is extra, it is no longer the main priority. Now I'm looking at where is there some growth and where can I have strong preservation of capital, that if I've sold a bunch of buildings like I have and I have cash, I can place my cash in a safe place that I know is going to keep going up in value, give me some cash flow, but by the way, give me huge tax benefits. And because I sold 22 units this year that I own personally, and I have another 12 on the market to sell, I'm going to have a big capital gain this year. So I'm looking for properties that I'm going to be able to get bonus depreciation to offset that capital gain and also meet those other 3 buckets. So I found a property, 10-unit property. In my area, historically, a 10-unit would go for $70,000 a unit, maybe $80,000 a unit. And Michael, I paid $100,000 a unit.
Wow,
But
you
here's the thing.
paid 20% over what some folks might think is a deal. 80
Correct.
guarantee, yeah, right, just rough math.
Correct.
Okay,
But here's the thing.
exactly.
I owned a bunch of 4-unit properties that were built in 1900, 1920s.
Oh my
And
God.
so while they've been updated multiple times over the years, the guts of that building, you've got some plumbing that's older, you've got some cast iron sewer pipes, you've got things that are going to come due, big capital expenditures coming. So I had to look at my portfolio and go, what things am I going to have to put more money into? And am I willing to trade some of the cash flow that I make, really strong cash flow in some of these older 4 units, for buildings that are newer, that are going to give me still cash flow, not quite as much, but much less headache because they're newer.
Right.
So I started thinking about, let me add some townhouse units to my portfolio. And I love my townhouses because they're kind of like a single family. The tenants generally pay all the utilities. They take care of most everything other than the yard. And they're high quality tenants that stay a long time. And so I decided these units are townhouses. They were built in the 70s. 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths. They have finished basements. It's very rare to find those properties for rent in my area. And so they're always in super high demand. They're in a great school district. And oh, by the way, the rents are well below market and what I'm already getting for my townhouses in the same, general area in the same street. So I still have a lot of upside. And when I figured out my cash on cash return, when I raise rents to where they need to be, I'm at a 20% cash on cash return. And my down payment was from fire proceeds. So really, it's infinite returns for me because it's not my own money down, it's fire proceeds. And so I've got an infinite return that's going to make me several $1,000s a month. Do I care that I paid $100,000 a unit? No. Would I have preferred to buy them at 70 or 80? Yes. But was that possible in today's market? No. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I want to just reiterate again. Let's talk about what fire proceeds are, because that's a term people may not have heard. Basically, you had a fourplex, I think it was, burn.
Yeah.
And you got an insurance check because you had coverage.
Yes.
Basically.
And full disclosure, my insurance check was about $475,000 on a 4-unit building.
Okay.
And the way the IRS looks at that, Michael, is they say, if you don't spend this money on a replacement building, you have to pay capital gains on all of it.
Yep.
And so I would have been looking at a, triple digit capital gain, a high capital gain if I didn't find a replacement property. So that was another motivation that I had. And essentially, even after you pay off the mortgage, whatever amount the check is for, regardless of the mortgage, you have to buy a property worth at least that amount. So it's similar to a 1031 exchange in terms of the tax rules. So I decided it would cost me more money to rebuild that building. And I would still only have a building that I could later sell for, maybe $300,000.
Oh.
So I preferred to take that money and use it as down payments on 4 times the number of units.
That's awesome.
Rather than rebuild that property. And so I had been sitting here waiting to find the right property to use those proceeds on as the down payment for my next one. And that's exactly what I did.
So you got this check fire proceeds. And again, having done this myself, you also were able to sell the burned unit or the lot value or whatever, right? There's another chunk of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my total gain was going to be $475.
Yep.
So on $1 million purchase, I'm putting $200,000 down. So I replaced a 4-unit. My first half of that purchase is now a 10-unit that's going to get me a lot more income than what I made on the 4-unit.
That's amazing.
So again, my cash on cash return is infinite.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then again, the other thing you highlighted there, I want to hit again is being in the game for a while, already achieving financial independence allows you to think in multiple buckets: income, growth, and asset preservation. That's just the right way to think about it. But in the beginning, if you're watching this, folks, and you haven't achieved financial independence, having cash flow as the goal, the driver, is okay. That's where it all starts, right?
Absolutely. And I would tell, if I had friends or students, and I do, that are looking for deals right now, I tell them, don't pay $100,000 a unit. You wait till values come down, or you target off-market deals. Exactly. Because they're looking for cash flow, and paying that much, they're not going to make quite as much. Now, the nice thing about these, again, because they're townhouses, a townhouse to buy as a standalone right now, just like the one I own 2 doors down, going to cost you about $140,000. So on a $140,000 purchase, if you just bought a single townhouse, you're going to get about $1,300 a month for rent. So it doesn't quite meet that 1% rule. But by me buying them for $100,000 a unit, and I can get $1,300 a month, I well exceed my 1% rule. And so, granted, rents right now are $750, $850,
oh, wow,
$1,000. I know I can get them to between $1,100 and $1,300 without much CapEx in them. And so that's the key. Amazing. Is knowing what you're buying, knowing truly your market, so that when someone calls you at 9:00 at night, when you step off a plane, you can go, I'm in and here's my price. It works.
And then the last thing to talk about, again, this is a subtlety that I catch because we've been doing this a while that maybe a new investor won't, is you knew you were going to have a rather large capital gains problem. I don't know what else to call it.
That was a big piece of the decision. Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Huge piece.
Yeah. So you step up, you get $1 million unit or $1 million property. It allows you to, I don't know, shield $100,000, $125,000, given all the various tax deductions you can have on that purchase. And that's meaningful. That's a this year impact.
Plus I will get bonus depreciation of probably close to $30,000. I'm sorry, close to $300,000 in bonus depreciation this year on this property. which will help offset the capital gains on all the other ones that I've already sold.
That's amazing. And
So,
again,
$500,000 tax benefit for a single purchase. I don't care if I'm overpaying by a little bit
well,
compared to 2 years ago.
again, folks, if you're looking at what Anna just bought, just simply on the $1 million purchase price, you're not understanding the bigger picture of real estate. She will wear that with a badge of honor and probably let you think she overpaid because she doesn't care. She has some tax benefits that others don't appreciate or understand. She's looking at the 3 different buckets of money. And this is what you can do. Once you've earned that kind of financial freedom, the world opens up.
Right. And I think it's key to remember that when you're buying, you've got to look at, what am I trying to accomplish? What are my own personal financial goals? Does this deal meet my financial goals? And not let what you think other people are paying determine what you're willing to pay for a deal. I'm not a Grant Cardone that says pay over asking and pay over what properties are worth all the time.
Yeah.
I want a good deal. I want a really good deal. But in certain times, certain opportunities, you can make it a great deal with all those other components. But don't get sucked into overpaying if you're looking for cash flow, unless you really have a strategic reason for doing so.
Yeah. Know the story, right? If you're still at step 1, right, just know you're at step 1. So that there's nothing wrong. We all start at step 1.
Absolutely.
Very cool. This has been a great story. I love it, Anna. Thank you very much for your time. And of course, have a wonderful week.
You too, Michael.
Thank you.